All right. Welcome to the January Wisdom Circle for the Breath Body Soul membership. It is 2021 and we are in a different year. So happy new year to you. And I tonight we are going to be talking about something that is really, I think, special and also needed in our culture, in our times, in our country, but maybe all over the world a little bit. In particular, we'll get into that in a minute. But first, I just want to say welcome and thank you for being here. And this is a special time. So whether you are watching live or you are watching this later, I just first want to extend a welcome to you. And I just want you to take a moment to get into your own body. Let's all do that. If you could close your eyes, and you could either be standing or sitting down, and just close your eyes and place your hands somewhere on your body and tap in. And breathe into your lower body, into your pelvic area, into your lower back. Bring awareness into the soles of your feet if you're standing, into the sitting bones if you are on a chair or on the floor. And in a very sweet and gentle way, if you could just welcome yourself right here to this present moment with all of your imperfections, with all of your worries, with all of the whatevers that plague us all. Just welcome, 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 welcome. And accepting your body and your heart and your thoughts and your emotions and your baggage just as you are right now. So we'll take a couple of really just deep cleansing breaths. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through the mouth. If you got any tension that you are hanging on to in your shoulders and your neck and shoulders, I know you do. I hear it. I hear it from all the women that I see, and men too. That's where people primarily store it all. So just like a couple of shoulder shrugs, and when you exhale, make a sound and literally feel like you're letting go of 20 pounds of junk that you are holding onto right there for whatever reason. Only you know, and maybe you don't even know, but only you can know for sure what that junk is. But it doesn't need to be stored in your shoulders, and that I know for sure. So let it go. And again, I'll say thank you for being here. So the topic tonight that I really want to share with you is the spirit and science of intentional change. And I think this is so super appropriate. I didn't even mean to do a New Year's thing, but it's super appropriate because so many people are seeing the new year becomes like a big marker. So, for most people who live with this calendar, that the Julius calendar that we live under, like January 1st marks the beginning of a new year. And whether you tune in at different times of the year, other times of the year or not, like the sacred wheel of the year and all the beautiful things that happen over and over in these wonderful cycles, even if you don't, even if someone doesn't, everybody marks the beginning of the new year, January 1st, everyone here, or, in the Western world, in our country. And it becomes something where even if you've sworn off New Year's resolutions, you probably feel that that pull, that idea of like, oh, this is new, and have the sensation of, where am I right now? Where was I last year at this time? Where do I want to be in a year from now? How do I want to walk through 2021? In this particular time right now, because for so many people, 2020, for the whole world, 2020 was a big deal. So 2021, I think, marks an opportunity, a big opportunity for change and for maybe making peace within ourselves, or maybe just stepping into life in a more purposeful way. Whatever it is that you are thinking of, this is that time. And so rather than setting some resolution that you don't really know how to follow through with, because I know I never did. And, maybe it stuck for a little while, but it usually doesn't. And so now habit science has gotten pretty popular. It's out there that even in the mainstream now, it's more and more people are starting to recognize that. I saw an article in some kind of a mainstream media source, and I was like, oh, well, it's out there. Even my kid is learning about it in school. So habit science is, I'm glad that it's getting out there. There's so many wonderful books. One of them that I'm going to reference a couple of times today is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. He's got a great website, lots of blogs, and like just free stuff. You can learn so much if you're into that kind of thing. The reason that I'm calling it the spirit and science of intentional change is because that is such an important piece. I think it speaks to our time right now, that we are, as a culture and as a world, in some ways, becoming more and more disconnected from spirit, and more moving in the direction of science. And some might say that some of the science, even that we're moving in the direction of, isn't real science. So I encourage you to think for yourselves out there in the world, and really question everything during this time. But regardless, we need both. Spirit and science meet in our bodies, right? If you've taken any kind of a biology class ever, or even a geology class, like any kind of a science class, there is both, right? We can't, all of the things that we study in science are theories, and we can't understand the great mystery of life. We can only understand like little glimpses. I think of when there's an eclipse, and you can do the trick where you take a shoebox and poke pinholes in it, and then you can look at the light that comes through from the eclipse into, like, through the holes in the box, and falls on the ground or whatever's on the other side, and you see a bunch of little eclipses. Anyway, my point is, when you put the pinhole through, I think that is really our only like understanding of the great mystery of spirit. And we can have deeper understandings. We can definitely explore the spiritual science on our own, and learn from others as well. But my point is, it is a great mystery that cannot be explained by mere numbers and trajectories and all of the data that is collected. So there's something a little mystical and very, very beautiful about life. And we're going to explore both sides of how to make intentional and successful changes in our lives. And so the first thing I'm going to do is ask you to get a journal or a piece of paper and something you can write with. So if you are watching live, I'm going to give you just a minute to do that. All right, so I'm going to give you just a minute there to to do that. If you're watching later, you could pause, except for don't pause because I'm giving you time to do it right now. And then I am going to screen share with you a little bit. So go ahead and get your journal. If you don't have something to drink, if you don't have a water bottle or something like that, then please go get one. That's important, that we do things to take care of ourselves, that we do what we're needing. All right. So at this point, you should have something to write with and something to write on. And as I said, I am going to screen share with you. Okay. So, like I said, the spirit and the science as they come together, because that's how we walk through this world. We are not just science. We are not just blood and bones and tissues. Something is inspiring us. The word inspiration, the word inspire is in the word respiration. Like we are breathed, life is breathed into us in every moment. And that is where, if we're going to do anything, it has to be where they meet, where our bodies meet the spirit, where body, mind, and everything intersect, where there's a true holistic view and approach to whatever it is we're trying to do. So what I want you to write down before we do a little meditation kind of exploration, what I want you to write down is these 10 categories. I want you to just on your piece of paper, write down body, write down relationship to body, write down mind. Oh, so I forgot, those of you that are watching, if you're watching on Facebook or something else, you're not going to be seeing this slide. So let me tell you this. So this slide says, what's your soul's desire? So that's what we're trying to get to. And I just dropped my notes. Hang on a second. That's what we're trying to get to here. We don't want trivial, superficial changes. We don't want something like, you can't say you want to lose weight because you want to fit in, you want to be a size 2, or you want to, whatever. I mean, you can, but even if you do that, there has to be a deeper urge, a deeper desire that is coming from a place of spirit, or like a soul urge within you to be able to care enough to follow through. It just is what it is. So we're going to do a little bit of work to try to get down to what your soul's desire is. And I'm asking you to write down these 10 different words, categories. So I'll start over. Number 1 is body, and that is related to your physical health. Number 2 is your relationship to your body. So that's going to include your body image, your confidence, how you think of yourself, like truthfully, honestly, how you think of yourself. Number 3 is mind, and that might be your clarity of thinking. It's your thinking body, like the thoughts that rule your life. So anxiety would go here in a way, because that's anxiety is in a big way about we're thinking in a overthinking, worrying, those kinds of things. So mind is number 3. Number 4 is emotional health. And that could include mood, like depression. Depression, and these kind of go together a little bit. Mind and emotion, they can, although they are separate, although all of these we're taking apart to talk about, but in reality, they don't exist separate of one another. So that's where I'm talking about having a super holistic view, because if you are not having a holistic view, then you're not looking at all the parts and therefore not seeing the whole picture. And so we can talk about these separately, but they do blur and run into one another. So next is number 5 is spirit, or you could say soul connection, whichever one speaks to you. Spirit or soul connection. So if you're just joining, these are the things we're writing down on a piece of paper, 10 different categories. 1 is body, your physical health. 2 is your relationship to your body. 3 is your mind, thinking. 4 is emotional health, mood. 5 is your spirit soul connection. And now number 6 is your work or your career, that path, that part of your life. Number 7 is your home. You could also say family. Those kind of go together. Number 8 is sexuality, sensuality, senses, everything that goes into that boat. Number 9 is relationships. And number 10 is community, planet, world. So macrocosm. Okay, so we're just writing those down to kind of look at all of these different parts that feed into who I am. And now I want you to just take a few moments, and you might, if you're feeling very mental or scattered or anything like that, then you might want to take a moment to just close your eyes again and come back into your body. Notice one or more sensations in your body. That's one good way to come back in. Your breath isn't in. Your notice what your skin is feeling, or the outsides of your body, right? Like the temperature, the feeling of your clothing, your seat, or where you're standing. A texture of something, you can touch your body and feel that. And then also the inside of your body. So what are you noticing? Like, is there a heaviness or a tingling or a lightness or tension or warmth or coolness, whatever you're feeling? Any of those, and there's more ways, but all of those are different ways that we can just go in. And when I say in, I don't mean in like to the mind where we're like can overthink and get out of our bodies, but I mean into the body, because I believe, just like how I said, spirit and science, like we can't do anything really well without coming together in spirit and body, because we're in a body. So we can't neglect it. All right, so get into yourself. And now I just want you to, I'm going to say these again, and you can keep your eyes closed if you want. And I want you to stay in that place that's really connected to internally. You can feel your heartbeat. You can notice anything. You're not pushing anything away. And so I'm going to go through these different categories, and what I want you to do is just let your heart land on that area of your life. And you can just kind of do a little overview, a bird's eye view, if you will, from your heart's perspective. of that part of you. Okay, so body, your physical health, thinking with your heart. What's a bird's eye view? You're just scanning, you're just checking, almost like checking the weather, checking your health in that area, checking your temperature. And you might get a thought, a word, an image, a number, you know, like if you're super linear, 1 to 10, you might go like, where is it? If 10 is the best and what like that I want for myself, if 10 is what I want and 1 is what I don't want, then where do I lie? Or it might be more of a word that describes it, or an image, an analogy. All right, the second one, moving on to your relationship to your body. Bird's eye view. Another way to describe that would be the feeling of that, the quality, feeling quality of your relationship to your body. And then the feeling quality of your mind. Your mental self, your thinking, your clarity, your thoughts. And we're looking bird's eye view. So we're not just looking at today and we're bird's eye. Emotional health, mood. We're taking the temperature. What's the quality there? What's the feeling quality? And then the fifth category, spirit, soul, your connection to those, to both. And number 6 is work or career, whichever you resonate with. Your work in the world, as I like to say. Number 7 is your home life, family life, the quality, the temperature, bird's eye view. And just spending a few moments with it so you can kind of just gauge where you're at. Number 8 is sexuality, sensuality, senses. Right? Sensuality, that word, it's coming from the word, from senses, your ability to feel, to observe, to perceive the world around you. That is where sensuality comes from. So when we say sensual, it can take on a connotation of sexual, and it, yes, definitely that there is something that can move in that direction with that word, but also just tapping into our senses. Like, how aware are you of your senses and your sensuality? The like feeling and perceiving beauty in the world, and your sexuality. Number 9 is relationships. That could be your partner. It could be all of your relationships. It could be one in particular that you're focusing on as we go through this. And last but not least is like zooming out, community, planet, world. You're just spending a few breaths, a few moments. Gauging the quality, the feeling of that for you. And when you're done, know that you can always come back to this. This is just a dip your toes in kind of an exercise right now. And so now from here, as you scan this list and what you just did, that work you just did, and feel free to write down, any of those feeling qualities or whatever came to you during that when you are taking the temperature of these different parts of you in your life. I want you to pick now 1 to 3 areas that you want to focus on. And it's totally okay to just pick one, but like zoom out for a moment so you're not getting too heady about it. Which one calls to you? Which one do you need? Do you feel a calling to work on? Your soul's desire. What is your soul's desire? Remember, that's what's important. And then, so now what I want you to do is like turn the page or flip it over and now write down those 3 different areas. And so like if 1 to 3, right? 1 is totally fine if you're just working with 1, but piece of paper, right? At the top, you would have the first one, in the middle, you'd have the second one. And if you have 3, then you'd have that one near the bottom-ish, so that you have room for each of them. And so now what I want you to do is I want you to dream just a little bit. Take the first one and dream just a little bit about what you want that area to feel like, right? So let's say you chose body, physical health. I'll just choose that one because it's at the top. And so what is it that you want to be different? And I want you to try not to use any negative words. So instead of saying don't, or I don't want this, or even the word un or the prefix un, try to instead state it in a positive way, whatever it is. Like imagine that you have what you want. What does that feel like? So those are the words that you're using. This is really important because our brains are really we're really perceptive when we absorb all the things that we don't necessarily want to absorb. So it's important that we're very mindful, intentional about how we are placing these words, how we're using these words. All right, so I'm going to give you a little bit of time to do that in all 3 of those. Or actually, let's just do 1, and you're going to do the other 2 later. So if we just take the 1, whichever one you chose to look at first, and knowing that we're only going to have time to do 1, feel free to change if there was one you really wanted to get to. But you're writing out something simple is always better because it's easier to connect with and remember instead of having to try to remember some long thing that you constructed. So, it might even be 1 word. How do you want to feel in your body? Or how do you want your relationships to feel? Or how do you want your relationship to your body to be? Or what do you want your emotional health, your mood to feel like on a daily basis? Whatever, you pick your category. So now the next thing I want you to do is ask yourself why. So this is a very simple question, but most often it comes back with a very superficial answer. So ask yourself 1 time and see what the answer is. So again, I'll go back to that example of I want to be in a size 2. And that's not the case for me. I could lose all of the weight in the world and never fit into a size 2 because my bones are too big. But if you, whatever the size you wanted to, like I wanted to fit into a size 6, let's just use that. It's a little bit nicer and a little more neutral is what I'm trying to say. So then I would ask myself why, and then I might come back with because my pants are too tight. Because I'm uncomfortable in my pants. Okay. So why is it important to you then to be comfortable in your pants? Right. So do you see that there's an exercise, some people, it's called in some places the 9 whys exercise. And you can ask yourself, 9 different times, each time taking pause to go a little deeper and a little deeper, because I want you to get at your soul's desire for this area of your life, not your mind's desire. Because your mind might want one thing right now that changes in the future, right? When you go to whatever the habit you set up for yourself for this to make this change, it might be that once you come up against doing that on a daily basis in that moment, maybe you change your mind about like, oh, well, it's not that important to be in a size 2 or size 6 or a size 12 or whatever it is for you. And so I want you to keep asking. So you can do that right now as much as you can to get there. And then the point is you're just getting to the deepest why, and you'll know, right? You'll know. And then now I want to just go through these slides a little bit more. So I mentioned James Clear earlier, and this is just a quote from the book that I mentioned. If you can get 1% better each day for 1 year, you'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done. That's a significant improvement. 37%. That's over a third. Conversely, if you get 1% worse each day for 1 year, you'll decline nearly down to 0. So the reason I chose this quote is because I think we tend to psych ourselves out or convince ourselves that like just that, oh, it doesn't matter this time, or, oh, that's just such a small thing. What difference does it make? But that's exactly what makes the difference, because it's the 1%. If we can do just one teeny weeny thing, then over time, that's how the greatest changes are made. The greatest changes are not made from huge life transformational moments. Like that does happen, sure, but that's not, in general, that's not how things work. Even if you, like, say you set your New Year's resolution, like you did in the old days, and you stuck to something for a period of time, you might not stick to it for a long time unless you go about it in the right way. So I just want you to really feel good about the idea of a tiny, tiny change. Okay. And an example that he gives in the book is an airplane, and that like just the like smallest percentage of a change, the tiniest change in calculation, right, and like a degree, can end you up like in a flight, can end you up hundreds of miles away from where you wanted to be. So this is that same thing. Like I want you to think tiny and think big at the same time, but on a daily basis, you're thinking very tiny. Let's see what's next. So here is a great visual of, because he also talks about the way that, because we want to think of change and the results being very linear, being very, oh, I do this and then I'm going to recognize the results right away. And sometimes that happens quicker than others, but oftentimes, especially when we're talking about just 1%, oftentimes it takes longer to see the result that we're looking for. So we have to be not expecting a linear result, right? I do this one day, I should see 1 day's worth of results. No, instead, over time, you will see a very big gain, but initially there's going to be a period where you might even, if you don't know this, if you're not prepared, you might start to feel like disappointment, right? And I can liken this to childbirth and how we go through a period called transition. So during transition, in the beginning, you think like, oh, I'm having a contraction, I'm gonna have my baby soon. And then you start having contractions and you get tired and all of this, you go through active labor and you start to dilate, you get to a certain point. Well, right when it starts to get the hardest, right? When you get to transition is when you go from 7 centimeters to 10 centimeters. That is the hardest part. You would think the hardest part might be at the beginning and then you could relax a little, but no, it's the other way around. The very hardest part is at the end where, and I've seen it as a doula in so many circumstances, that is where women hit this place where they think, I can't do it. And this happens to everyone, even if it's not your first. I can't do it. Somebody take this baby, or let's just push it back up. I can't do this any longer. I'm done. I'm exhausted. I don't have it in me. And so that is the same point you may reach with your habit. You may get to a certain point and go, dang it, I've been doing this for weeks and I feel a little better, but I thought I was going to have dropped a lot of pounds by now, or I thought, things were going to be different. That's when you stay the course, because steadiness and the 1%, that's the key. So that's when you just have to be prepared and ready for that. So I want you to be aware that you will come up against this point, and rather than going, oh, screw it, I'm just going to have the cheeseburger, just stay the course. All right, and here's another one from the book that's just I thought a beautiful example of why and how this works. Like, it's not linear. Bamboo can barely be seen for the first 5 years as it builds extensive root systems underground before exploding 95 feet into the air within 6 weeks. So I want you to think about that. I want you to think about that incredible thing that happens with the bamboo. And I want you to think about that for you. How can that be yours? What would that look like in your life? And I want you to think about, what's the area you wanted to change? Which one did you choose? Okay, like that can be mine, but it might not look like it for a while, right? If we go back to that, it's like, not a lot of improvement, not a lot of it. Well, there's a little more, and then boom, wow, look at that, I got here. So another thing, and this is why we start with the spirit of like, what's your soul's desire, is that you start with believing something different about yourself. And then you craft a tiny change habit. A tiny change habit. You could also call it, it's a practice, a Japanese practice called Kaizen. And that's the same idea. It's just tiny changes over time. So you change a belief. You start with the belief, the thought, what's possible. Then you move to crafting one tiny habit. And then you stay the course, 1%. And then you get the outcome. But if you start on the other end and you start with trying to manufacture an outcome without doing the work, it's most likely not going to happen. and it's going to lead to a lot of frustration. And it may then end up in you just throwing in the towel completely. So this is the formula, guys. Beliefs become habits, become outcomes. This is so true. So I'm going to stop the screen share now and go back to our exercise. And so the next piece for you is to take your thing, like when you go home, you're not here. You are home. I don't know where you are. When we leave this time that we have together, this circle, I want you to spend a little more time going through each of the 1 to 3 categories that you chose. And I want you to dream about and write down, just stream of consciousness. Do not filter, do not edit yourself, but write down all of the things that come to you in that area that are something that your soul is desiring, something you want for yourself. And then you're going to ask yourself the whys. You're going to do the 9 whys, right? And you may have to do it more times, or you may, if you're super connected, you may come up with like your ultimate why right off the bat, if you've done this work before, or if you just happen to be like super connected soul wise. And then once you do that, the next step is actually the crafting of the habit. So you have to pick something that is so tiny that moves you in the direction that you want to go, but something that is so tiny that it is easy, very easy for you to do. And I'll give you an example. And you have to be super honest. An example is if you decide your habit is going to be around exercise, around movement, around something like that, yoga, dance, rather than saying, I'm going to start practicing for 1 hour every day, or even 1 hour 3 times a week, or even 30 minutes. Better to say, I'm going to start with 1 yoga pose every morning before I get dressed. That's really tiny, 1 yoga pose. Of course you can do that, right? Of course you can. So you're going to craft the teeny weeny habit, but remember we're starting with belief. So first we have to believe, like, what is that person that's doing, that person, like you're imagining yourself. What is that person who is me in a month or 6 months or a year's time? What does that person think about themselves if they have this habit? Right? And then you take that on, like, oh, and then so the point is for you to be thinking about that, you to be thinking like, this is me. I am the kind of person who does 1 yoga pose every day before I put my clothes on. Right? I am the kind of and so you could turn that into, I am the kind of person who does regular morning exercise before work. Right? Maybe that's been a struggle for you. And then everything's just completely individual, right? So yours could have to do with thinking. Yours could have to do with eating. Yours could have to do with cleaning. Yours could have to do with, it's totally up to you. I can't know what yours is. I can help you on, crafting your habit. If you would like a little help with that, I would be glad to give you some feedback. If you're watching this on Facebook, you can message me. You can send me an email, sacredspaceyoga@gmail.com. And or info@sacredspacehealingarts.com. They both go to the same place. But I highly encourage you to spend some time thinking of what might be that's big and then scaling it way down to something tiny that you can start right away. Because what happens is when you take that itty bitty thing and you do that itty bitty thing, like what happens for you when you do that yoga pose one day? This is just an example. Then you're like, okay, I did it. Yeah, that's good. I did one yoga pose. Second day, you do it. The third day, you do it. The fourth day, you do it. The fifth day, you do it. The sixth day, you do it. The seventh day, you do it. Oh my God, I've been doing this for a week. Yay me. You get confident with it. Maybe you start the second week and, no promises, but maybe you decide you want to do a second yoga pose or a third, right? But you're not committed to that because you only committed to one, so that's okay. But you can do 3 one day if you feel like it. You can do whatever, as long as you get that one in. But what's going to happen is you are going to gain so much confidence and so much trust in yourself that then you're going to eventually want to change that habit and make it, just tweak it up a little bit. Not too much, just 1 degree more for you once it becomes a habit. So that might be 1 week for you. It might be 3 weeks. It might be a month. It might be 6 weeks that you do that first tiny 1%. But then once you've got it dialed in, you turn it up 1%. And you keep doing these exercises to tap in. Remember, like, your beliefs about yourself become your habits. If you believe that you can't do it, if you believe that there's no point, if you believe you're too far gone, if you believe it won't make a difference, then it won't. One of my favorite quotes is, if you believe you can or if you believe you can't, you're right. So your beliefs become your habits, become your outcomes, and become your daily life. And that's how you do it. It's not a super simple or easy. I'm not saying that it is, but it's not a pill. It's not a tonic that's going to save your life or change your life. It's the real work, and it's not as hard as you might think. And it's completely holistic. And if you're doing this if you're doing this and you're experiencing the effects and you're experiencing the outcomes, then you're gonna see the change, and it's gonna make a huge difference in the quality of your life. And then you're gonna go, let's look at those other categories. Like, if I can do this in 1, 2, or 3, what about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10? Right? You can overhaul your whole life at some point. But I'm just gonna suggest sticking with 1 to 3, depending on how you feel. But definitely don't overwhelm yourself. And just a reminder, so tonight, this is one of the monthly wisdom circles for the breath, body, soul membership. And you can find that on my website, sacredspacehealingarts.com. And once you go to the website, you'll see one of the tabs at the top is monthly membership. And you can click on that, and it will take you to the page that explains all about it. There is a sliding scale monthly fee, so you can pay what you can pay. I encourage you to pay as much as you can so that I can keep doing these things for you at a low cost. But if you are really having a hard financial time, I still believe that you deserve this. And I want you to be able to have these things. So the membership consists of a weekly meditation recording and a weekly yoga or sacred movement practice, and these monthly circles that we do on Zoom. And so I would love to have you be a part of that. And I also coach people if you're interested in sessions with me of like getting more one-on-one help and seeing how you can move through your life in a more soul connected, more intentional way that feels right and good to you. It is possible, and I do work with people on a one-on-one basis. I also will be starting a course very soon that hopefully you'll be hearing more about. And that's another option for going through the year or going through a season in a way that is going to educate you on a lot of holistic practices that will help you do life better and live the way you want to live and heal yourself and stay connected and unwavering in these crazy times that we have. So I look forward to connecting with you on in whatever way that ends up happening for us. But thank you for watching. I hope that you got something out of this. And again, feel free to reach out to me if you want a little help crafting your habit. My email is info@sacredspacehealingarts.com. And you can connect with me on Instagram, on Facebook, on my website, or through email. And I look forward to talking to you in the future. Thank you, and have a beautiful January. I hope the way that you walk into this year is a joyous, peaceful one. Thanks so much. Namaste.